Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the Nomad Hedge. So in today's video we're going to analyze the markets a little bit and possibly see a Santa Claus rally ahead. But first, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing, hit that like button, and while we're at it, I also want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I haven't made a video for a week now, so I thought it was due for that. But there's some important technicals, some interesting technicals here that I want to show you. Obviously we're going to take a look at the treasuries, the dollar index, and sort of like deep dive a little bit on the S&P. And so yeah, let's see if we're gonna find ourselves within a week of Santa Claus rally. Now typically a Santa Claus rally, what the definition is that the last trading days of December and the first two trading days of January, that's when I mean, not always, but obviously whenever we do have a Santa Claus rally, it would happen within this time frame, within this 7 period of days. So we're gonna see if the technical is gonna support that. We're gonna take a look and see what's happening in the 10-year. And I know that I'm pointing this out in a previous video. This is the falling wedge that I've been drawing before, and so we did finally get the breakout here. The MACD has signaled a buy here on actually pretty low here. It was sort of like, stuck in this trading range. Now I thought first that we could possibly see another touch here before seeing another breakout, but we saw that 10-year just broke out here from this lower high trend line. Now I'm just going to apply some moving averages and see where we're currently at. And as you can see here, we broke above this 20-day EMA, and so it's going to be interesting here right at the spot right there if we're going to find resistance or possibly even touch this 50-day and see where the 10-year is heading next. Because if we're finding resistance here, we could possibly see another leg down here in the 10-year. Now obviously as yields goes down, that's going to support markets. So whenever yields goes up, that gives it sort of like a headwind. So we want preferably that yields goes down here. Maybe we'll find resistance here on Tuesday, and we'll see if it's going to break down here, or it could even move sideways from here. But either it stabilizes or it moves down. That's the preferable choice, or we get this break even above here. So the 10-year is going to be interesting to watch. I also like to take a look at the 2-year as well, because these two follow each other. But the 2-year is sort of like lagging a little bit. We did not get the breakout here on the 2-year, but the construct is pretty much the same. So we are in a falling wedge situation, but the 50-day is much closer to this high-low trend line here. So either we're going to test this trend line here. If we're going to break above this previous high here is going to be the major challenge for the 2-year. But again, I mean, if we're not getting a breakout here, we could possibly see another leg down here. But notice a 200-day moving average. This one is very, very far away from where we are right now. So typically when things are so extended from these moving averages, you typically see another leg down here. But the question is just when, right? So if we look a little bit deeper here, we can see a clear buy signal here approaching. This is actually an early buy signal here from the MACD, and so we're fairly oversold here on the RSI as well, which would suggest that we could possibly see another breakout here. The question is if we're going to break above this high-low trend line. So that's just key to watch here on the 2-year. Now the 10-year sort of like signaled that we're already above these breakout levels. So we're going to see now if we're going to see a pullback. Let's also take a look at the dollar index and see how we're faring out here. And so if we just zoom out a little bit like this. Now we preferably want to see the dollar index move down here. This thing has just been stalling below these moving averages here. But I pointed this out previously that we could possibly see another test here. Now this would be the logical level to find support. So this would give us a couple more days here to play whether the the dollar is going to continue downward here, or if it's just going to be in this trading range that we're currently at. But again, I mean, if we're going to get a breakout here, there's a lot of resistance ahead. I mean, the most logical level to test would be this previous high here, but we also have this 50-day moving average. We have the 200-day moving average here. We even have this 20-day EMA as well. So lots of resistance ahead here on the dollar index. So even if we're getting a breakout, I mean, the market is always forward looking, right? So the market sees this. People people see this, institutions see this, and whether this is gonna give us a buy signal here when we're talking about equities. Yes, we could get a breakout here, but we know where the resistance are and where possible pullbacks are going to be. So people could even buy into this market even though if the dollar index goes up. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So that's how things are looking or faring out on the dollar index. We still have this confirmed early buy signal here on the MACD, and so yeah, lots of resistance ahead here. Let's take a look at the VIX. Now, what's interesting about the VIX is that we're sort of like building this construct here of lower highs and lower lows, right? Now, keep an eye on this open gap here. Eventually, we need to fill this thing. So the bias now is towards the downside, right? Because we are in a lower high and lower lows situation. So maybe we could see the VIX continue to drop here. We are seeing that the VIX is now confirmed below this higher low trend line here. Now, if we just gonna switch over to a weekly, so you know sort of like the perspective we're talking about. But this is the higher low trend line here. We're below it. This is the previous low here that we tested one time, and then we bounced up from these levels, and now it looks like we're gonna test this again. So this could be another potential double bottom here, and so that means for now the bias is towards the downside. So let's move on here and take a look at the S&P 500. Now we can see here that we have found some support at this area here. This is the 5.5 retracement here on the Fibonacci scale. Now this coincided with this open gap here, so this was an area of strong support and resistance. It seems like for now that we have found some strong holding here at these levels. Now I mentioned in a previous video as well, we're looking for patterns, some bullish patterns that could support a breakout, right? And so the most logical thing would be a falling wedge here. So maybe we could see, you know, another test here. This is a 45-degree lower high trend line here, and so that would also coincide with this open gap here. But if we're getting a breakout from this level, the next logical support here would be around 395 on the SPY here. But I don't think we're going to you know, see some like 4200. That would be very far reached and stretched in my opinion, but maybe we can test another the former highs here. So that's the only bullish scenario here at around 4100 on the S&P, or we could see another, you know, test of this lower high trend line. And I know I talked about this before, this Fibonacci 0.618 could be another level of support, and then comes the breakout here. So that's just the way I look at things. I sort of like want to see different scenarios being played out here, but for now it looks like we are finding a good solid footing here. And I mean, for now the Santa Claus rally is positive. We could sort of like say that it's begun now, because we closed positive here on Thursday. What's interesting is if we move on here to the Dow Jones Industrial, we do have clear solid support here above the 50-day moving average and even the 200-day moving average. So maybe that's telling us, because the Dow Jones has been leading the market forward here for quite some time, or ever since we had this bull run here back in October. So the Dow is getting critical support here at these key moving averages here. So maybe we have found now a solid, strong footing here, and we'll see now, or beginning on Tuesday, if we're gonna rally from these levels. Now everybody's saying, if you go to Twitter, if you go, you know, anywhere on social media, whatever, everyone is sort of like trying to declare that the Santa Claus rally is dead. And so when everyone is so bearish at this point, I just have a sense of feeling that the market's just going to do the opposite. So that is why I just want to pay attention to these levels and how the yield's going to fare out in these levels that they're currently at, you know, nearing into that higher low trend line, possibly finding some resistance there. So that's just my key takeaway here. There's nothing going to be, you know, it's most likely going to be a low volume week here. So, you know, any buying power coming in, you know, beginning of next week is going to drive the market either very strongly towards the upside or towards the downside. And speaking of you know, economic data, we're not going to get anything major this coming week. So yeah, so that's just my key takeaway here. I do think that we could possibly see another leg up here beginning of this week, and we'll just have to see how the market is going to fare out when we're nearing out to these levels. Worst case scenario, 0.618, and that gives us our last chance if we're going to see a breakout from this falling wedge here. So that was it for today's video. That was just going to be something quick. So again, I wish you guys Merry Christmas, and if I don't make a video this week, I'll see you guys again on you know, next year in January. So take care for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and take care. Goodbye.